Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. FPL Consult here, and today we're going to take a look at a Game Week 20 updated wildcard draft. So a couple of days ago I did upload an initial draft that I thought would be relevant for the next few days because we all thought that Haaland would be back soon. But now we have gotten an update after the Everton game yesterday, and basically that has big implications on a Game Week 20 wildcard because now it seems as if we can go without Haaland on the wildcard. So I'll talk a little bit more about the news and update on Haaland as well as how the draft would look like now that we don't really need him in the team. So hopefully you guys enjoy this one, and if you do, please give it a like and also subscribe as well. If you are new around here, we are on the road to 7,000 subscribers as well. So thank you very much for all the support this year, and we'll continue to push on for the next year with content for you guys as well. So here we go with the Game Week 20 wildcard. The team value is 95.8 million, and a large portion of the remaining budget that you will have is to bring Haaland back. So I'll talk a bit about Haaland in this tweet by Sam Lee, who is a reporter for The Athletic. So basically what he said, right, according to Guardiola, right, is that on Haaland, he's still not with the team. He feels better, but he hasn't made one training session with us. Hopefully in January, he can come back with us. And then he goes on to talk a little bit about De Bruyne as well. But focusing on Haaland here, he's still not with the team, that's one. And also he hasn't got back to any training at all. So it's almost a certainty that he will miss out Game Week 20 against Sheffield United. But then again, in January, it's only a couple of days till the new year already. So when Pep says hopefully in January he can come back with us, the next deadline is actually mid-January, 13th of January to be exact. So there is a lot of time. There is quite a long break in January for Haaland to be back. So there's every potential that he will be back in time for Game Week 21. We don't really have confirmation on that yet, but that's kind of the nature of the Game Week 20 wildcard that you're having to build right now, that you don't really know full disclosure on exactly when Haaland will be back. So you do have to factor that into your plans, and that's kind of why I haven't used up all the budget, because the plan with this draft is to make sure that we have enough money in the bank so that we can bring Haaland back in one move in Game Week 21 if necessary. So that's the thinking behind it. I think a lot of people would be very tempted to just immediately spend the money everywhere and go and buy all the expensive players. But my thoughts is that I would rather have that money in the bank ready for that one-to-one swap if needed. And then of course, make sure that the 95.8 team value now is able to afford me a team that looks really good on paper for Game Week 20 as well. And of course, since we are wildcarding, we need to look for the medium to long term as well. So I do think, like, if I was on a Game Week 20 wildcard, I would go without Haaland, but I will have the funds in my bank in case he's back. And this is how I would probably line up. So going in goal, I still have Raya and Areola as my double up. This was initially the keeper pairing that I already went for a couple days ago when I put out the initial wildcard draft. I think Raya moving forward does have really good fixtures, and of course Arsenal are still one of the better defenses in the league. Areola at 4.2 is just a really cheap playing keeper, and the fixtures are there for Areola, so if we do need to play him, he will be quite handy. And then in defense, there's Moreno, Gabriel, Porro, Trent Alexander-Arnold, and Taylor. So talking about the most expensive one, I'm going to go for Trent here at 8.4 million. Initially, I didn't go for him, but now that we have more money, I've decided that Trent, it seems as if he could be held for quite long, especially since there is some talk of a potential double game week in Game Week 25 for Liverpool. Maybe we would want Trent then as well. And of course, it seems as if he can return whether it's tough fixtures or not. His attacking threat is really good. So I've put Trent in this draft at 8.4 million. The next most expensive player is of course Pedro Porro at 5.6 million. So the thing with Pedro Porro is that I think if you are saving money, you could go for Udogie. I don't mind him at all. Pedro Porro will soon have set pieces taken off him because Maddison will be back sooner rather than later. But then again, in open play, Porro is very attacking. But then Udogie can also match him as well. But I've gone for Porro here for the time being because Maddison isn't back yet. At 5.6 million, I still think it's an okay price for him. And one of the downsides is that Romero is currently injured with a strained hamstring. So that could dampen the clean sheet potential. But for now, I still think Porro would be a good pick, at least for the next 3 to 4 game weeks. Until then, maybe when Maddison comes back, set pieces are off him, and maybe we can go to Udogie or something, right? So that's for Trent and Porro. For Gabriel, it's a double up of the Arsenal defense here. Gabriel's at 4.9. His attacking threat is really good. Of course, we saw the bullet header against Liverpool. And also, I still feel he's first choice centre-back beside Saliba for Arsenal. So I do think like it is his place to lose. There was a bit of rotation going on earlier in the season, but it seems as if now he's really nailed the spot. His performances have been really promising and really impressive. So I don't see any reason why he would be dropped. At 4.9, I would take the cost saving over Saliba at 5.5. Right, and then after that is Moreno at 5.0 million. I went for Konza in the initial draft because it seemed as if Konza was the only one that would be nailed for the next couple of game weeks. But now that Luka Dean came off injured in the Aston Villa game, I feel like Moreno would be first choice left back now moving forward. And of course, the attacking potential of Moreno, as we saw last season and then in a couple of glimpses as well this season, he's already got a goal since coming back from injury. I do like his attacking threat, and at 5.0 million, Moreno, who is very low owned, I think on a wild card, I think he's a very good differential to have. And then Taylor at 4.0 million, he's just going to be a bench fodder. So there we go with the goalkeepers and the defenders. Let's take a look at the midfield. So in midfield, I've gone with a midfield 5 of Odegaard, Bowen, Foden, Richarlison, and Cole Palmer. So I should talk about the exclusions first, and that is actually Mo Salah and Son Heung-min. So both of them will be leaving in game week 21. And I've come around to the idea that maybe we should just go without both of them. Salah has Newcastle in game week 20. And of course, Son will be having Bournemouth, but there is every chance that Richarlison could cover him for this game week 20 fixture as well. So I've come around to the idea that we can go without them. And then, of course, the players that I've replaced them with, players like Foden, I feel like there's every chance that Foden against Sheffield could even match their scores for game week 20. So for this draft, I've kind of made some changes to the midfield in that I've taken Salah out, who was initially in this draft. I've put Foden in here at 7.6 million, and of course it's to take advantage of the Sheffield fixture. Foden in really fine form, of course. So he makes up this midfield 5. The rest of the players are pretty much the same as the initial draft, and I think it's worth mentioning as well, touching on a couple of them. Odegaard ahead of Saka. I prefer his numbers, and I also prefer his price point. He offers a little bit of a cost saving there. And for Jarrod Bowen, once again, playing a centre forward role, listed as a midfielder, really good and really consistent, and his form is just super good right now. I would have him in the team. Richarlison is to cover Son Heung-min at 6.8 million. He is a player that moving forward, everyone would jump on, especially once Son leaves. But if you're on a wild card, you very well should just go with him right now and be ahead of the curve. Right, I know a couple of players or FPL managers without their wild cards that have already jumped on Richarlison. They are already ahead of the curve. So if you're on a Game Week 20 wildcard, Richarlison will be one of the first few names as well. And then for Cole Palmer, he's a really good enabler, still in the team at 5.6 million. We have yet to get any confirmation on whether penalties have been taken off him because Nkunku is back. So at the time, at this current moment, I still feel like Cole Palmer is the first choice penalty taker, and at 5.6 million, that is really, really good value for a Chelsea team that, of course, are not performing super well, but they just picked up another victory against Crystal Palace yesterday night. Right, so there we go with the midfield 5. And of course, it is rather cheap because I've omitted the premiums, but that has allowed, of course, us to go for a stronger attack and also have some money in the bank to bring Haaland back in. And I also really feel like the players like Foden, Bowen, and also Richarlison can very well match players like Salah and Son, even if you had them in your draft. And of course, those players would be leaving in 21, so you would have to reserve a transfer for those moves. But by going for these players right now, you save a transfer later on that can be used to bring Haaland back if necessary. So there we go with the midfield 5. Let's take a look at the forwards. So up front, I've gone with a front 3 of what would seem right now as the best 3 attackers to own, aside from Erling Haaland, of course, who is currently injured. So I think we can all agree that these 3 forwards are on everyone's mind right now if you are building a no Haaland wildcard. So Ollie Watkins is a season keeper. He's at 8.8 million. Yes, they did not do very well against Manchester United, and Watkins blanked, of course, but the fixtures moving forward are really good. Starting with Burnley at home in Game Week 20, you would definitely have Ollie Watkins as one of the first few names in your drafts. and I really do think like we can keep him for quite a long time as well. So let's see how he does perform with the fixtures that they have moving forward. For Julian Alvarez at 6.8 million, we just saw him took a penalty against Everton, so definitely still on penalties when Haaland is not around. And of course, he's playing Sheffield in Game Week 20. There's every chance he could be a massive captaincy shout. If I went with this team in Game Week 20 on a wild card, I would most definitely be captaining Julian Alvarez against Sheffield. And then there's Solanke at 7.0 million. He's also a player that's really in form right now, and he's playing, of course, against Tottenham, who play a very high line, so there's every chance that Solanke can continue to keep his impressive goal scoring record. So there we go with the front three. And overall, when you look at the structure of this team, kind of assessing it and comparing it to the initial draft, I feel as if there are players here in this draft that do really, really well. And the compromises that we've made in this draft to afford that money in the bank does not really feel like compromises, because I've gone for Julian Alvarez at 6.8 million instead of Haaland in the initial draft. That of course seems to be an upgrade at the moment because Alvarez is a big captaincy shout now, and of course Haaland is out for Game Week 20. And then players like Foden instead of Salah, I think he definitely can match or even outscore him. And then of course I've gone with Solanke as well here. In the previous draft I didn't go with Solanke, and I went for Walker initially, but now there's Trent with the extra money at 8.4 million. So a couple of changes here and there, and of course money in the bank once again for that move for Haaland. I do feel like if Haaland is back, I would be tempted to do Alvarez to Haaland instead of Solanke to Haaland, because I think Alvarez minutes would come into doubt, especially when Haaland comes back as well as Kevin De Bruyne. So we did see in the earlier quote that I showed in this video by Sam Lee as well, that De Bruyne is on the road to recovery and on the road to being back to full fitness. So we could see him very, very soon. So Alvarez is definitely not a hold for a super long time. So Alvarez to Haaland seems like the move in Game Week 21 if Haaland is back fit. So there we go with this draft. Hopefully this video was helpful for you guys. I did want to make sure that I got this video out before the Game Week 20 deadline, and I of course wanted to give an updated draft because the old one was not relevant anymore because it didn't have Haaland in the team. So if I was going in a Game Week 20 wildcard, this is the team. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please give it a like and also subscribe as well if you are new around here. Drop a comment below on what changes you would make and what's your wildcard draft if you are on a wildcard 20 as well. But if not, I'll see you guys on the deadline stream, which is the last stream for the year on Saturday as usual, 3 hours before the deadline. Bye bye.